All right. Hello. Hello, Adrienne. I
Hi.
am Kelly from Little Bites Coaching, and I was getting ready to write a newsletter about user manuals. And then I saw that the Holdsworth Center had produced this fantastic resource. And so I decided to reach out to Adrienne and say, hey, can you come on a Zoom and tell me a little bit about user manuals and your approach to them as someone who works with school leaders? And thankfully, Adrienne, you said yes. So thanks for joining me and would love for you to just introduce yourself. Who are you and what do you do?
All right. Well, hello, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Adrienne Williams, and I am a 20-year educator. I've been in the business for 20 years, which is crazy. I have served as an elementary principal and as well as a high school assistant principal, and I taught fourth grade. So I feel like I have like this broad range of experience from the elementary where they begin, and then the high school where they leave K through 12 and are getting ready to venture into the world. And people always ask me, which one do you enjoy best? And I will honestly say that I love both aspects of it, because in the beginning they're super excited about learning, and then in the end you get to have this like touch point where you're like, these are all these career opportunities that are open to you. So I was a principal also for 8 years at an elementary school. Absolutely love that. And now I'm blessed to do leadership development with principals across the state of Texas, with this amazing nonprofit called the Holdsworth Center. And that's where I currently am right now.
Wonderful. And I got to meet you, Adrienne, as a visiting faculty member at the Holdsworth Center. And I work now with Little Bites with folks in all different industries, but educators are still first in my heart. And so I was really excited to see that you all had been thinking about user manuals because most of what I've come upon has been written for more of a corporate setting. So the thing I love about user manuals, which if you haven't heard of them, is just an opportunity for a leader or members of a team to share a little bit about themselves, who they are, maybe their values, their working style, with the goal of helping people get to know each other and therefore be able to collaborate effectively with each other. At least that's how I think about them. And so I'm really interested to hear more from you from the school leader and school leadership development lens. What is the value in user manuals as you see it, and how do you think they can be helpful to school and education leaders?
Absolutely. Great question. When you are a school leader, you are constantly hiring to build a team. This time of year, you are working to fulfill your vacancies and build your team for next year. And so once you have your team together, you have to create this sense of cohesiveness where people feel valued, people feel respected, and know how to work together so that you all can quickly get in there and do the work of what we do as educators, which is to create equitable outcomes for our students. The reality is, though, that takes time. When you are putting people together that don't know each other, they have to learn how to work with each other, right? How to receive feedback, how to give praise, how to be able to ask questions in a safe way. And so, what the user manual does, the beauty of it is, it's a one-page document where you're able to upfront share that information, right? Like, how do you want to be recognized? Is it that you prefer to get that in public, or would you prefer that in private? How do you want to receive feedback? Would you prefer that I leave you a note and on your desk, or would you prefer that I send you an email, or would you prefer that I circle back and talk to you in person? Do you need time to process the information? How do you like to be able to ask questions? Do you want to ask it in an email format, or do you want to ask it face to face? And so the user manual creates a document, it's a one-page document where it answers those questions. And then what the goal is that the team reviews it together, well, individually, and they sit down and they have conversations about the documents. And the goal is that when you have this piece of information, you're able to quickly understand how to work together so that you don't really spend so much time trying to guess. It's already shared with you. And when we're in the school, we don't really have a lot of time anyway. So to be able to have this piece of information up front and to be able to understand quickly how to work with each other is like gold for me as a principal, because I want to make sure that my teams are solid so that we can start really digging into the work and having those difficult conversations sometimes that need to be had to move our students forward.
Thank you for sharing all of that. Do you have an example of, either from your experience or with one of the many, many leaders who you work with at the Holdsworth Center, of a user manual working, or a team working together better because of that document or experience?
Yeah, I could talk about a team that used it when we introduced it at Holdsworth. They took that and they took it back to their teams. They had a fairly new team that they were working with, and the principal felt that they weren't really communicating in a way that was efficient, and she really wasn't understanding why the team wasn't cohesively gelling. So after the session, she took it back to her team and she had a conversation and explained the why behind the user manuals. And she gave them time to write it and said that during our next meeting together, I really want us to use that time to share and be able to ask questions and just create a space for us to get to know each other. Um, when she said they were sharing that, she said that each team member started to really have a clear understanding of like some of the hiccups they were having, I guess I would say, because one of the team members felt like the best way to share feedback is to, like, when I see you in person, I'm going to give it to you. And the team person that she was sharing this information with was a processor and really needed time to be able to process what the feedback was, to be able to formulate her questions. And she felt like when it was shared to her, like right there on the spot, that it was more of she was seeing it in a negative way.
Mhm.
And so when they shared this, the other person was able to understand, okay, so this is a way that she receives her feedback. And so that's how it started to be shared. And I felt like, well, the principal said that it helped to them all to have a better understanding and ask questions and get curious about what is the best way to share this information with you.
Mhm.
Um, so
That's great. And it's such a, it seems like an easy example, and I could definitely see how those hiccups, especially in the fast-paced world of a bunch of school leaders running around, like those really matter and can make people feel, um, not feel their best and not feel like they're working the best together. Um, so let's say that I'm a school leader, or a district leader, I'm reading or watching this, and I'm like, yes, I want to make some user manuals. You've mentioned explain the why, maybe a tip of giving
yeah.
some time to work on it. What else, what other advice do you have for folks who want to use this with their team to make sure that it works as well as it can?
Yeah, I think that all team members should complete the user manual, not just like the new team members, but
Mm.
the whole team. And I say that because things change, right? Like you evolve over time. And so what you put earlier might be different now. And
Mhm.
so when you are bringing in new team members, it's important that everyone creates and adjusts their user manual. So the new team members will be creating it for the first time, but then the returning team members can make updates that they feel like is important to be able to share with their team. And that includes the principal or the admin as well, because it's important for your staff to feel like they know how to best communicate with you. And this user manual allows you to be able to share that information. And it's not just about communicating. It could also be like, sometimes I am an internal processor or an introvert. And so I need some time where I'm going to close my door and I'm not going to be on radio, or I'm not going to be responding to email and text, and I'm not ignoring you. It's just time that I need to be able to, process the day. So you're basically sharing with people how you work. And it's literally just that, like a user manual, how you work best. And you want your teammates to be able to know that.
Wallace the dog making an appearance in our Zoom, of course. So I can imagine a leader being like having the reaction of, okay, but I can't always do things exactly the way my team wants. Like I cannot always give people feedback or structure the team meeting in the way that would be exactly the best for Adrienne and for Kelly and for these other 8 people. What would you say to that, like sort of resistance or question?
Yeah, the user manual is not like you must do it this way. It's more of a way for you to understand how your teammates work best. And if you cannot meet in a large group set or provide the feedback in an email because it's information that needs to be sent right away, but in the back of you already know that like that is how they prefer it. It gives you an opportunity to say, hey, I know that you would prefer me to send this information to you, but I need to share it with you now. And here's the reason why, right? So you are being respectful of what they might prefer, but you're also sharing why you need to do it this way. Same thing with somebody that might need some time by themselves. Like, I know that you prefer to have like some quiet time or alone time, but today's going to be a really busy day. And so we're not going to be able to create that space for you. And I want to share that information with you up front. So it's just more of a way to be proactive with your staff members and your team, so that if you cannot accommodate what they're asking, you can share upfront, like, hey, this might not be able to happen, and here's the reason why, so they don't take it personally, but understand like there's something happening that it might not be able to work out exactly how they want.
Mm-hmm. It's striking me as you're talking, Adrienne, that just sort of the first step of really tuning into like what we want, like what I want as a leader and what sets me up for success, and then inviting people to do that. Even that in the fast-paced world of school leadership, like we don't have time to do that a lot. And like you said, sometimes things change, our roles evolve, we evolve. And so this sort of transition between one school to the next and maybe some new folks on a team seems like to me such a wonderful opportunity to kind of pull back a little bit and update your own understanding of what you need to be successful, update the understanding
Yes.
of people around you. Anything else you want to share about user manuals?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's important for people to understand that it should be updated, right? It should be updated for sure, at the end of a year, because you grow professionally, you grow personally, things that you thought you needed, you realize you don't, and your team evolves. And so it's important that you take the time to really evaluate what you need and share that. And the perfect time to do that is when you're doing like your back to school PD, or sometimes schools have like team retreats in the summer. So you have like your admin retreat or your team leader retreat. And it's important that you set the stage of like, I really want to take some time for us to get to know each other so that we can understand how to work best with each other. Because when the school year starts, it gets super busy, and you're bringing in people that have different ways of being together on one team. And so it's important that you all have a clear understanding of how to work best with each other, because that is what helps you all to really move the work on your team and on your campus, which is at the end goal is what you really want to do.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. And of course, I was most excited to hear your perspective as a school leader and someone who is an expert coach and facilitator of school leaders. But of course, everything you're saying applies to any sort of team coming together. I've even heard of like a neighborhood board sort of situation using these user manuals, even just for some volunteers coming together, because why not know a little bit more about the people who you're going to be working with so that you can avoid those hiccups and get off to a really strong start. So I hope that after this conversation, tons of people will go to the Holdsworth Center website and check out your free user manual course and see some more of you and your wisdom. And thanks again, Adrienne.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.